Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to need your problem set packet because on the back page is the area model template, and that's what we're going to be talking with today. We're going to be using these area models and number lines to represent mixed numbers with units of ones, tenths, and hundredths in fraction and decimal form. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how would I represent a mixed number using these two area templates. Well, we've talked about how these are broken into tenths, but in order to represent maybe something that falls into the hundredths, what would we have to do with this area model, or even both of them? Well, we'd have to cut 10 more, so we had 100 pieces. So if I wanted to plot or create 1 and 22 hundredths, what would I do? How many holes do I have? Well, I have one hole, so it would be this whole space. If you're Alex, you're going to go ahead and just put an X, and that's what he's been doing, and I'm fine with that. But just make sure it covers the whole space. That's your one hole. Check. My 22 hundredths is where we get a little funny. So how many more than one hole do I have? Well, I have 22 more than a hole. Well, I obviously can't color in 22 lines. There are only 10. So what I have to do is I have to cut this area model into hundredths, which means I have to take 9 lines to cut it into 10 sections. Horizontal, straight across. Go ahead and pause while you cut this area model into hundredths. We didn't have to do this one because it was represented a whole. Go ahead and pause. Now you can tell mine are not perfect, but that's okay. So if I want to represent 22 hundredths, well, how many tenths do I have? I really have 2 tenths. So I'm actually going to go straight down 2 whole pieces. There's 22 hundredths. I would count out 10. And we know 10 goes straight down. 10, 20, 21, 22. And that's how it would look. Now, what does that look like as a decimal? Go ahead and pause while you write it. You should have had one whole and 22 hundredths. Remembering, ones place, tenths place, hundredths place. 22 hundredths. The last number I say is the place that you should land in. The next one I'd like you to try is 1 and 60 hundredths, and what that would look like filled in. Now some of you are going to be able to figure out how to do this without crossing the lines and making hundredths. Some of you need to make the hundredths. Either way, go ahead and pause while you fill in 1 and 60th hundredths and come up with your decimal. So you should have had one hole filled in because that's what that is, one hole. Then I realized that 60 hundredths is the same as 6 tenths because I can divide both of those by 10. If you needed to draw to make it 100, is that okay? Absolutely. Now to put it in fraction form, I have decimal form, I have 2 options. 1 and 60 hundredths or 1 and 6 tenths. I'm going to bring you back to this 1 and 22 hundredths and talk to you about using a number line to create it. So if you have a ruler or a straight edge of some sort, that would be the best thing to use, but obviously you don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a number line, and I'm going to have my starting point as 0, and I'm going to work my way up to 2. And obviously my middle is 1. I know how many tenths are in a hole. Well, there are 10 tenths. So go ahead and cut each hole into 10 tenths. Go ahead and pause. So if I were to plot 1 and 22 hundredths, well, I can first jump my one hole. That's easy. That's one hole. Then I know that 2 is the tenths. So that's another easy one. I just do 2/10. So that's plus 0.2. Now's where it gets a little funny. Because I have 2/100. Well, I'm not going to jump 2/10. I'm only going to go over 2/100. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to draw 10 little lines in between here. So I'm going to do a little bit of guesstimating. I know I have 2/100, and there are 10/100 in each tenth, so there's 10 in here. I'm going to go over just a little bit to equal my plus 0.02. Went over just a little bit. I probably even went a little too far because it's almost to the halfway point, but it's close. And that is how you use a number line. Let's go ahead and do one more. I would like you to draw a number line. We're not going to do that one. I want you to draw a number line for 1 38/100. And then I want you to turn it into a decimal. Remembering ones place, tenths, hundredths. That should help you. Go ahead and pause while you do that number line to create this and show me the decimal form. Pause. First off, your decimal should be 1 38/100. Tenths, hundredths. Tenths, hundredths, wholes. Then there's your number line. I went 1 whole, 3/10, 8/100. Smaller and smaller. Thousands would be even smaller, but we're not going to go there right now. You're going to come upon a part in your problem set that looks like it's wicked easy. But if you don't think about your place, then you're going to have a problem. So please flip to this part in the problem set, and I want you to do what I do. Ones, tenths, hundredths. You can't forget where they fall. So when it says 1/1, that's a 1. 2/100, that's a 100th. Do I have any tenths? And the answer is no. Be very, very careful. And down here, write these out first. I think that will help you. All right, find a partner. Good luck.